Welcome back, Guardians, to another Destiny video, and in today's Destiny video we're going to be talking about SRL and the problems with it in the first time around, and hopefully they've been fixed this time around. So anyway, I'll get into that in just a second. In the background you're seeing gameplay that was sent to me by an Activision representative. It's of someone playing SRL at PSX. Now you're going to be seeing highlights of each map in the background, so you got some new SRL footage. Now I'm not trying to get down on SRL. I love this event. Out of everything that's ever happened in Destiny, this is my favourite thing. It was last year. I'm great at it. I barely ever lost a match. It was fun. It's exciting. It's different. It's unique. So I have no issue with SRL coming back. But I do feel that SRL last year had some problems, or just some things it was lacking. And maybe and hopefully they fixed it for this SRL, or will fix it for future SRLs. So first and foremost, let me reiterate. I am happy with SRL. I'm not trying to bash it. I'm not trying to be negative. I just want to point out a few things that I noticed in the very first SRL that hopefully don't reappear or are limited or can be fixed for the future. Now let's talk about some of the things that I have noticed from last year which have been changed for this year. Now first and foremost, if I remember rightly, and I believe that I do, I have a very hazy memory and I have no footage, there was no real music while racing in SRL, and it's a very boring drone of the Sparrow. But I may be mistaken, there may have been music. It's been so long I cannot remember. But the music in these two maps is really perfect for a race. It's very hyped up, it's very amped up, it gets you really into the groove of racing and challenging and fighting. It just feels like a good soundtrack for SRL, and Bungie really does have a lot of good soundtracks for this game, so I'm not surprised. But I do want to say that one thing I really loved about these two footage pieces that I got was the music in the race. Another thing that I've noticed really changed in SRL was the map type. Now, I know in the very first SRL there was big jumps, high jumps, you would teleport and fall from the sky, but it really did feel like a very flat racing surface. It just felt like you were constantly going at the same altitude, and then just every now and again a little dip, or a teleport will put you really high, which is kind of like a cheap way of getting height and altitude and different levels to the race. Now the races that I have seen in these gameplays looks like that is very much so where you have to like race uphill, you have to do very sharp turns. It's very different in the way they have built these maps, and that's only a good thing, because this leads me on to my next points. Back in SRL 1, if you crashed or fell off or blew up, you pretty much lost that race instantly. There was no real way to gain speed back and catch up on people, and that was a real problem. Now, a lot of the corners in these races look very sharp, where you have to slow down because you can't just speed around a corner. And that's great, because that gives people who have crashed a chance of catching up. If they want to take a risk and take some corners at high speed to try and catch up, they can. So that is always a good thing. The uphill kind of racing seems like it might actually be the most fun part of a race. A lot of people seem to smash into each other while they're trying to go uphill, and obviously you slow down a little bit as well. So I'm really excited to see how races play out now, and not just like as soon as someone gets ahead they're uncatchable. And even though I say that, I have looked at some of these races, and the guy who's playing crashes and he struggles to get back into like 5th or 4th. He was like 1st, crashed, went to 6th, and he really did struggle to get back up the ranks. But maybe that's just because he wasn't as good as a racer as the rest of the people. I'm really hoping that it's not the same case where once you crash you've lost the race, because I remember back in SRL 1 people would hit that ramp on the Venus track, I believe it was, and then fall off or hit a wall, and they would just leave. They would just straight up just leave straight away, because they knew there was no way for them to catch up. So I really hope they really have fixed this issue so that people have a real chance of catching up and winning, or at least gaining a few positions to what their actual skill level is, instead of just having one major crash and then made it look like they're really bad at the game. And the last thing I want to talk about, which I was really hoping they would have improved, but it really doesn't look like they have, and that is enemies on the racetrack. Now, enemies on the racetrack are supposed to cause a distraction, it's supposed to be an obstacle, but if I remember back to SRL 1, there was really absolutely nothing in the races that could really stop you. You'd get shot at a few times, but it wouldn't distract you, you wouldn't get blown up off your bike, you wouldn't crash into them and like die, you just knock them over and carry on. So they weren't really much of a hindrance, and they were just kind of like a gimmick type thing, and I was really hoping they would change that and make things a little bit tougher for this SRL. But looking at this gameplay once again, it really does look like they're just there for no reason. A lot of the times the enemies are facing the wrong way. Like if you're in 5th or 6th, they've already turned around and are chasing the other people, so they don't really pose a threat to the people at the back, which I guess is okay because the people at the back then have a chance to catch up. But that would only work if the enemies had any kind of destructive power to take out those people at the front, or to at least block them or slow them down. But they really don't, so it feels like a gimmick. It feels like, or at least it looks like a gimmick to me because I haven't actually played. It looks like it's just another gimmick where enemies don't really pose a threat. They're just there running around on the track, and they're just nice to look at, but not much substance behind them. But, you know, time will tell. When SRL comes out, I'll get my hands on it, and I might do another review, do some reviews on the maps specifically, maybe do some tips and tricks on how to race those races perfectly, because I am actually really good at SRL, and I'm not trying to be egotistical. I just love this event. So, all in all, I'm really excited for SRL. Can't wait to get my hands on it. Looking at some of these gameplays, it's just like, some things still look the same as SRL 1, which isn't totally bad. Like, it's fine. SRL 1 was great, it was fun, but I really wanted to see some major improvements, and they have done that in certain areas in my opinion, but other areas just still seems a little bit lackluster. Let me know what you think down below in the comments section. Hit that like button if you liked the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. I've been easynow, and you guys have been awesome.